So, we're going to continue our exploration in elevation rendering. Screen. That's why. It's not, my screens are not coming up. I'm gonna try to share. What's happening? Do y'all see the Photoshop? Okay, yeah, you see it. Okay, cool. So before we closed out on Monday, we were discussing how to add light to windows, etc. Another thing, we added this dark background. I want to make sure we put some type of fill in here. I believe the space is just a garage, but at the very least, we're going to put some type of, what would be a wall color in it. Also, I want to address the color of the windows. And this is only if you're doing like a nighttime view. I mentioned to you that I was not completely satisfied with the feathering on this. See how there's still almost a crisp edge here? There are tools that you can use to blend it into the background more. Like there's a smudge tool. Which my brush is too huge. So when you're using the smudge tool, you want to make sure that the size of your brush, and it's literally this little finger down here in your toolbar on the right-hand side. So you want to make sure that you change the pixelation of your brush so that it's not too huge. And you can also change the style of your brushes. Typically for blending, I like to use a wet media brush, which will give you something similar to like an oil painting or a watercolor painting if you have those type of brushes downloaded. I have not been able to download the watercolor brushes that I want to use. Just a little frustrating, but I want to do the best we can with this. So what I'm trying to do, I'm going back to my lights layer. I'm on my lights layer. Is basically just smudge this a little bit. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Oh. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to take, let's step back a few. Undo brush tool. I go to my smudge tool. And right now it's giving me this so-called wet brush. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm going to decrease the pixelation size to see to about half of what I had, just to see what it will do. You can also do finger painting as well. So what it will do is, depending on the brush style, just kind of blend the two layers together. Like it's, I don't know if it's hard to see or not. But I wanted to kind of mess up, if you will, that crisp line that was on the window to make it look like more like it's an ambient glow than what it was. So that is the use of the smudge tool. And you can change your sizes, your brush types, all of that. And just kind of smoosh it around I got to do small circles. Right now it's using the, why is this paintbrush selected? It's going to take whatever layer you're in and allow you to spread that. If you were to think of it as paint, like spread the color of that layer around a little bit. So when I zoom out, looks a little more blended. And we could do the same thing for this layer down here. Now, as far as our windows are concerned, I'm going to go back to the, and please keep in mind, there are multiple techniques and ways to kind of achieve different effects. This is kind of my way of going about things. I would suggest, highly recommend that you look at different YouTube videos about how people render to learn different techniques, because you'll learn a few things from me, but you're not going to learn everything there is to know about rendering as it pertains to Photoshop. I'm just giving you a certain amount of tools to work with. But if you want to expand your knowledge, YouTube is a great way of doing that. So in terms of our windows, I'm going to actually create a new layer. I'm going to title it windows. And there's a few different things we can do with our windows. We can go in and use the rectangular marquee tool and put in a shade that's like a darker blue or darker gray to give the effect that you know, maybe it's nighttime. Your windows reflect the night sky in a sense. That's kind of what you're trying to get at with glass. So even though there's light coming behind it or light coming through them, more often than not, the windows will look darker than they currently look. So I'm going to take this and just play around with it and see. No, I forgot. Make sure, because the last time I used my select tool, I had this feather portion on. Make sure you take that back to 0, especially with a rectangle. And I'm trying to essentially incorporate this effect in the whole window space, the glass. So I got that kind of dusty blue, if you will, more of a teal, but we'll work it out. And I'm going to move this down. I don't know why it keeps copying the layer. Let me deselect it first of all. That's probably why. I'm going to move this down to where it sits below the lights. So I want the window lights to sit on top of it. And it is. You can't really tell at this point, but it is. So I'm going to change the opacity here of that layer. Windows, why isn't it doing what I want it to do? Oh, this is Windows copy, not bad. So let's bring it up above the windows drawing. I changed the opacity, but I made it a little too dark. So I'm going to, a little too light rather. And that's pretty much it. I will actually want my my light to shine brighter. The issue is I have my lights layer, my lights layer is multiplied, so it's blending in with the glass, blue glass, if you will. So what I can do is, rather than have a solid box, I can do a gradient, or I can go to my lights option and change it to normal instead of multiply, and that will give me a better effect, not necessarily what I'm going for. I want it to look more like it's glowing. Now there's an option that I can also utilize here. I can go to my lights layer and hit blending options. And then there used to be an option for glow, like an inner glow or outer glow. I got those inner shadow, drop shadow stuff. Not sure why they changed that. I'm a little upset right now. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to use a shadow. Not really sure. Let me see if I can get it back. Include layer effect. Learn more about libraries. See what happens. There used to be an option to add an outer glow to an object when you went to blending options. I don't see that in here. I don't know why Adobe 2020, 2021 changed that option, or if they're making you add it as an add-on, why that's a thing. But that might be something I have to explore later. It's a little frustrating. Inner shadow. One thing, let me see if this will work. So what I'm considering doing is adding an inner shadow, but making the shadow white. And see, let's see what that does. Doesn't look like it's doing anything, really. So enhances red distance. Still not doing anything. Let me see if I do it as an it's a little bit. And change the opacity. It's not really doing what I want it to do. See about the size. Not giving me what I want still. I want it to glow a little more. Let me see if I try drop shadow, if that will work. Am I crazy? Is it just not reflecting what I want it to do? Doesn't look like it's changing at all. So maybe your professor has been outsmarted. See if I change it to a yellow drop shadow, see what happens. Opacity is at 100%. It goes at 17. So maybe I'll change the angle. Still nothing happening. Yeah, I got nothing right now. That outer glow was my pièce de résistance. It's not here anymore. I'm a little upset. Outer glow. Hey, let's see. So what I did was, it wasn't showing up in the layer styles. So I clicked on this FX little in the right-hand corner and put it back in that layer styles option. So now we got outer glow. So let me get rid of drop shadow and see what it's going to allow me to do. I'm going to turn up the opacity real quick. Still feel like it's not necessarily giving me all of the life that I want. Increase the spread. So y'all see how it's like that white portion is coming up out the back, kind of looks like a cloud. That's what I'm trying to get. Yeah, there we go. But I don't want it to be that I think there's a drop shadow still on. That's what's, get rid of that inner shadow. Get rid of bevel and emboss and just do the outer glow. So that kind of gave me the effect that I was looking for. So a lot of trial and error. Increase the opacity a little bit. Trying to make it look like it's dark outside, but you know, it's still lit, if you will, from within. You can increase the spread. Now it's going behind the building. We'll need all that. Still, it's not doing exactly what I wanted to do. I'm gonna have to play with it. What does this jitter do? Either way, you can play around with it. See, you can change the opacity of the window a little bit more so that it's not as dark. Just try different things and see if it's going to give you the effect that you are looking to gain. I feel like I ended up going back to the original paler window, but whatever. We're going to move on from that. Another option that you can utilize is if you have a photograph of your house, you can steal the actual windows, borrow's a better word, from your house. So let's see if I can find it. Which all of you should definitely collect. So like I say that all the time. Images of your house. So this is kind of what it looks like during the day. Let's see if we can get a picture of the sunken house at night. Where did my cursor go? I'm not crazy. Well, maybe a little bit, but I can't find the cursor. Whoa. My computer's making strange noises. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but I don't know what's going on. Okay, there it is. It's still doing the turny thing. I hope we're not updating right now because I feel like that's what's happening. Nope, it just crashed. Good times. Well, let's see. One, I got too many programs open. I got SketchUp open. I have Spotify open and Teams open and a million tabs. So none of this is good for at InDesign and Illustrator. So I think Photoshop just gave up on me because I got too many things going on. So let me close some things. right. This I definitely need to save. Yeah, Adobe Creative Suite is not filling me right now. I had too much stuff going on. And we'll close out SketchUp. All right, we're going to reopen Adobe Photoshop, hopefully, safely. Let's see what happens. Okay. So hopefully some of what we did saved because, okay, cool. Not everything, but some stuff. So I was saying that we can actually go and find windows from our actual buildings and copy paste it from there. Or you can just like type in windows at night. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so we're on Google. I'm gonna say sunken house at night and see what comes up. This is more at dusk. Not exactly what I was going for. Let's see if we put the architect in front of it. Not so much, just more dreary looking photos of London during the day. Although that's some good sky back there, we want to save that. That's usable for a daytime situation. Yeah, a little sad, a little disappointed. It's okay, we're gonna work it out. Don't really see what I'm looking for. You could take some of that. Let's see what happens if we type in windows at night. Pretty standard glowing light type situations. Not really giving me what I'm looking for. But either way, let's say for windows in the daytime, what you can do is, and I already have photos of this, so I'm going to go back to my Photoshop file. If we are, so we're stepping away from this nighttime vision situation because I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Just for a hot second. So we're going to change the background to a daytime view. File, open. Let's see, I just saved it, bam, there it is. Open. And then just going to take the top portion of the sky in the background of the sunken house. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Now we're doing the digging, and we're going to stretch out the sky to allow for a daytime shot. And then the next thing I want to do is, like I said, borrow some of the glass from an actual photographed window of the building. And let's see, we can find it. Sunny day, we have the sunken house, bam. And it's giving us a little reflection of the trees, giving us a little bit of that action. That's pretty cool. It's not necessarily an elevation view, but it'll work for the time being. It'll do the things that we need it to do. Imitation of life here. And hit edit. Copy. And where are we going? Back to our sunken house. PSD that was thankfully recovered, and hit paste. Where'd it go? Oh, no. There it is. And I'm just going to take this and move this into the space. Don't let me. Come on, Photoshop, don't do me like this. There we go. So this is what I'm talking about, like just taking elements from the actual drawing can help it give a little more depth, make it look a little more realistic. And it's cool because it's got the reflection of the tree in there already. And then you can add a tree in front of it, which we still need to do. And it'll be dope. Now what I want to do down here, in this lower tree, let me see if I can kind of imitate the coloring that's up here. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see what happens. May work, may not work. We'll find out shortly. Put that in there, bam. And I'm going to darken that, change the opacity a bit. So it works, you know, it does the things. It adds some balance. It's not perfect, but it's just a representation. Okay. Either way, we're going to put a tree in front of here too, so that will give it a little more life. This whole situation down here, can't remember what's down here, but in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to put a color in there just to make it not look so empty. And I'm doing all new layers for these different things. I'll call this a basement. I feel like that's a garage or something. I can't remember exactly. I need to go look at the plans. But reference your drawings to find out what your spaces act as. That way, if you wish to fill in certain things with like furnishings or cars or whatever, you can do that from an informed place. And it'll make sense. Change the opacity a little bit. Something, something. Doesn't stand out as much. I really do want to find out what that space is. So right now, I have no idea if it's like a sitting area or kitchen or what. Another thing we want to do is make sure that our little blue, let's see, window, I want to put this as the lower window, just renaming our layers, and the upper window. There. Definitely on the wrong layer. Where you make any state changes, make sure you're on the right layer. I'm meant to be on the basement layer. Backspace for the time being. And that was just to get that little piece fitted in correctly. So I want to assume there's some activity going on down here. Just I'm not sure what yet. So right now we'll just add a fill color. All right, let's get a decent tree in here, and let's also bring our furnishings to the front. And I think we wanted to add a seated girlfriend for the lady of the house. Chairs, 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 chairs. Pretty sure I made that a layer. Not a labeled. There we go. One thing, when you want to move two elements at the same time, you can link your layers. And that I just did that by holding down the shift key and selecting them both at the same time. So you can link the layer, link layers, or you can merge the layers. I'm going to merge the layers so that every time I move one of them, they will both do the things. Right now, it's where I want it to be, so we're good. I'm going to, I don't want to multiply them, do I? Let's leave them as normal for now. All right, and then we're going to bring in our seated person. No, that's not what I'm meant to do. File, open. That was the homegirl. All right, here we go. Let's get her in there. I'm going to take my magnetic lasso tool and go around homegirl. Magnetic lasso tool actually works better if you don't click to anything and just allow the toggles to cling to the edges of whatever you're tracing. Unless you have a lot of random things in the photo, then it can be a little bit of a pain. But for the sake of this exercise, it works. And then I'm going to do a whole edit, copy, go back to my rendering, edit, paste. She's huge. So we're going to use one of our selection tools to right click and then free transform her. But it's great that she's huge because once we shrink her down, she won't be pixelated. We want to make sure we hold down that shift key as we are moving her into place. Mm-hmm. There was a thing that I was recently showed. Not quite, but almost there. Don't really want her sitting on that portion of the chair. I kind of want her sitting in it. Just want to move her around a bit. Make it look like she's sitting on the cushion. I'm going to multiply her in as well so that you don't get distracted by the fact that she's not necessarily on the cushion. I'm going to take that chair copy and bring it above her. And I'm going to multiply the chair as well. So it kind of gives the illusion that she's sitting there chilling. The more people and layers and, you know, foliage and plants and things that you add, starts to look like a real thing, a real scene, like you're building a scene for presentation sake. All right, let's bring this tree up in here now. Hopefully we'll get a tree that we're proud of. This time, it's not, looking back, it's not going to fit what we're doing. Who knew? Putting in trees would be this cumbersome, but it is. Mm-hmm. I think this is more similar to the tree that's in the actual drawing, but I feel like I tried to use this file already and it was too pixelated. So we're not going to do that to ourselves again. Let's see if this neem tree works. We like neem. Neem is good for us. It's great for dental hygiene, all types of wonderful things. And just as a backup, we can try, you look pixelated. Let's see. I'm waiting for it to give me full resolution. Really not feeling it today. Really dragging. Not what I want. A little sad. A little sad. Definitely don't want watercolor trees. If this would just do what I want it to do in terms of resolution, we might be able to use this one. I think this is an orange tree. All right, let's see. Once we get it in here. I'm say there's a download on my phone. Excuse me. Let's try the neem tree first because we're a little happy about that. I like the sun that's hitting the neem. We're going to use that magnetic lasso tool again. Layer's already unlocked, so we don't have to worry about that. And just hit these edges. Snap. You know what I forgot to do? Forgot to change my feather pixel. So before you start tracing, you definitely want to do that so that you don't get jagged edges. You get soften edges. Bring it around, so. No, that's raised. Oh, I did something wrong. Ugh. All right, there we go. No, stop. Do what I want you to do. There we go. This just gave me a little bit of a headache, y'all. I'm gonna try the polygonal lasso instead because I have the feather to select 20 pixels. It's cutting out a lot of the base, the trunk of the tree. And I don't want that to happen. So I'll try the polygonal lasso tool and see if that helps my conundrum. Another thing would be to use the magic wand tool and select the inverse. Because if I use the magic wand tool, it's going to select the white background, and you can select the inverse instead. But I'm going to try this and see if it does what I want it to do. And I'm getting a little more of that white background just because I don't want it eliminating large portions of the tree. All right, so let's see, edits. I cut it, I meant to copy it, but nevertheless, it'll still do what it needs to do. Bam, that's a nice big tree. It's awesome. So I'm gonna take this, start deleting out some of this white. I can select it with the magic wand tool and hit similar, and it'll select all of the white on that layer and give me life. Perfect. Almost perfect. It cut out some of the tree, but once we shrink it down, you'll never be able to tell. I'm going to take it and free transform it. So my homegirl can be sitting in the shade. Sure, if I were to look up an article about the sunken house, I could actually find out what type of tree is planted in front of it. But teachers are a little lazy sometimes, so we're not going to do that. All right, so we got a tree that is of the right resolution and scale. And I'm going to hit up this white down here. I'm going to cut out some of this bottom trunk. Do the things real quick. And now we're good. We can add a shadow to this. We finally got a tree in here that makes us happy. A lot of trial and error with this. A lot of playing with your lighting and your shadows. But at the end, you get something that you can present and be proud of. If I want, I can play with this opacity just a smidgen. And that looks a lot better. Just taking it down to 75% opacity makes a huge difference. We want to add a shadow to this tree, but we're not going to do that today. But yeah, these are the things that we go through for decent rendering. This is just one elevation. Now, granted, I could definitely finish this in a day if I were working on it consistently, but I have not been. I've just been working on this in class with you so you can see what I'm doing. So this is where we're at. And I think this is a good stopping point. And I can also go into my line drawing and eliminate the lines of the tree in the background. All right, so we're getting there. We're almost done. She's almost done. Please, 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 if you have not already, be working on your rendering, because as you can tell, it's a little painstaking. It takes a significant amount of time. So if you can and you have the programs, be working on your renderings. If you're still having issues, please contact Mr. Webster so you can get that resolved. Because as much as I would love to help you, the reality of my skill set, it's just not my ministry. So whatever troubleshooting you need to do, please do with Mr. Webster and Campus Tech. And Deja, I have not forgotten about you. I know we need to address the bringing in of people in AutoCAD. So Friday's class, we will definitely do that. So Friday, let's do a pinup of wherever you are, and then we will go from there. In the meantime, you all have a great day.